Traditionally, when we do the Welcome to Country, you guys, so you're all different mobs, you're all together, and the Bowen Dick would be here. So that Welcome to Country, that was done to welcome you onto country. So it would be different groups. So the Bowen Dick people would be here. When someone came from another country, we'd know the borders, and it wasn't like the Victorian South Australian border. We'd know it by trees, or it might be rivers or something like that. Then you'd have that Welcome to Country, and that's where that came from. So I'll do it myself, seeing I'm the only Bowen Dick. So Welcome to Countries would have been done by different things. It could have been just a few of the elders on the border. They see the other groups coming and they would have just stopped them. Everyone would stay their distance, and then they would put their spears down, point down first, and then they would do the welcome. So I haven't got my spear today, but I'm putting it down. You're all very welcome. So Matakara Wingara, Narinai Michelle Bartanat, Natabini Bowen Dick Palapala, Yerpanine Berina, Barnulanine Narunga, Nata Panyongni Wuninung Nukaru, Kakamarata Nuli, Nini Marati Nuli, Maratine Berin. Putama Bowen Dick Dralara by Kanyul by Katabanan, Putarini Branura, Woollenwich Jara by Murawich Jara, Numarat, Kalayi Yallawingan. Good morning, friends. My name's Auntie Michelle and I'm a strong Bowen Dick woman. I come from the line of one of the apical ancestors of this area, Annie Bryce. Annie was born 172 years ago at Old Penola Station at Penola. She lived all of her life on Bowen Dick country. I too was born on Bowen Dick country here at Mount Gambier or Berrin, and currently live at Narunga, Port Macdonald. I welcome you all. I would like to pay respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people present, and also pay my respects to all other nations living and working on this land. Now, of course, the welcome wouldn't have been that formal. It would have been just, it could be even just a hand gesture. Come on, you're welcome. And then they would step over into country.
So my name's David New. I'm with the Limestone Coast Landscape Board. My role is the First Nations Partnership Coordinator. So I work with community in the region to look at connecting with culture and country and landscape, and I work with community developed projects like this one that provide really good outcomes for people. So this calendar, as Arnie said, was done in 2014, and you know it's amazing bit of sharing from some community elders to put this together. It was done as an educational resource for schools, so you know that willingness to share knowledge, we really need to acknowledge that, because it is a special thing to keep culture alive as well. So at the time it was done, it was a collective information on from people from around the region. So this calendar itself doesn't actually relate to one part of country in the southeast landscape. And the southeast landscape that I'm talking about goes from Mount Gambier all the way up the coast to around about Rabbit Island, across to Bordertown, and then down the Victorian border. So, you know, it's quite a diverse landscape. There's a lot of different different landscapes within that. So this year, what we're looking at doing is with consultation with the Southeast Aboriginal Focus Group, we've taken the information off the calendar and we've got a blank template. And what we're asking people to do is to make some observations of their surroundings, of their landscape, and record them in the seasons. So we're asking people to commit to go out on country, to walk through the environment, or you know, look at what they do within the landscape and start taking some notes. And part of the reason for that is so that we can actually you know, help community build their cultural, build their knowledge of the environment, which then they can put their cultural lens over.
So this one here is actually an acacia. It's called the blackwood. It's a really good quality wood, and you can recognise the blackwood by its distinctive bark. Okay, so it's really rough bark, and all these seeds on the ground are from the blackwood. So this is what a blackwood seed pod looks like. That's like the outer casing, and then there's little black seeds that sit inside. Just behind us here we've got the swamp gum. So that starts with a rough bark down the bottom, and then it's quite smooth bark up the top, and it got quite pale on a sunny day. You can see it's really quite white on top. But then you've got the rougher stringy bark trees. So There's two types of stringy barks here, the brown stringy bark and the mesmate. So it's a good day actually to see tracks. So you can see quite a long toe here, and then looks like a toenail's gone in there, heading in this direction, and another foot there. Yep, so jumping fairly quickly. Generally we see mainly wallabies in this part of the scrub. So coming into the wetter seasons, this place comes alive with like the lichen, and the moss will just bounce straight back into life. Now this plant, don't run your fingers along this because it is very serrated and can cut your fingers. What is it? It is native. It is a wetland species. I think it's called sword sedge. But you can come and feel it if you like, but just don't run it along the sharp edges. And yeah, if you go back up that way, it's like really rough sort of Velcro almost. It's an indicator of wet areas, so you'll see this around wetlands. And I was just saying there's a wetland just through here off the track. Anyone know what this plant's called? It is a type of fern, yes, it's called a bracken fern. A good thing to remember if you're out walking, there's these little ants called hopper ants. Some people call them jumping jacks. They start jumping when you accidentally step on them. They get angry and jump around, but they've got these orange nippers and they really hurt. They're like a bee sting. But a young bracken sprouting up out of the ground, if you snap that off and put it straight onto the bite, it stops the itching and the pain. It's really good. So even if you see some young bracken at the start of a walk, you can break a couple off, put them in your pocket, so you've got them there just in case. These are the hopper ants I was talking about. You can see their yellow nippers.
Part of the program that we're doing with Grant High School is a fantastic partnership because it actually uses this template and builds some resources to actually help make observations of that. So really significant bit of work that that partnership's doing. So yeah, I think you probably would have seen this around school. If you see it, be really proud of this because this has come from South East Community and it's come from a partnership of working with South East Community as well. So.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Bishop Rigney. I work at the Millicent High School. I'd like to welcome all yous here today on this land that we created the Aboriginal Garden, and the Aboriginal Garden's been here for over 10, 11 years, and we done it with the Indigenous and non-Indigenous kids that Kathy and I have done.
Hello, my name is Kathy Bell. I'm an environmental and garden support officer at Millicent High School, and this is our meeting place garden. And it's very much spirit of place. It's an Aboriginal meeting place that we've actually grown from seed. We've grown all these plants with the students over the years and teaching our students about Aboriginal culture, raising awareness and caring for country. And we start here at the garden, do ceremony every year with our elders, and then we look after this place, and we also collect seeds and we take them to our nursery and we grow those seeds. We also go out on country from here and take care of country. So we go out to coastal sites and wetland sites, doing corridors, and we take our students out to see country. So then they get a better understanding and want to take care of, help to take care of country. They also learn about the plants, but they also learn about the land and the issues out there that our environment and the plants and animals are facing. I think it's really important that this place, we share this with all ages. So we have students coming from kindy in our own community here, and they learn about the Aboriginal culture from a very young age. Then we have some primary school students come in, and also our high school students. So It's a beautiful place to appreciate nature, but also appreciate our Aboriginal culture from this land.
Hello, my name's Doug Nichols. I'm a member of the First Nations peoples of the South East. I'm here to present or show and demonstrate Aboriginal cultural heritage using plants and showing some artefacts that relate to the landscape of the South East. Different woods, different artefacts that were made from the species of tree or whatever. But we've got a lot of different plants here to show you and demonstrate what we use, our Aboriginal uses, the Aboriginal uses of these plants are for, and what we make out of them. And also we'll also go through our 6 seasons calendar, which gives us an idea of what we do within the 6 seasons of the South East. What we'll do, we'll present the 6 seasons calendar and have a look. We're looking at the monthlies, and as we can see, it's sugar and eel time. This is February and March, and it's pretty warm, and it's the monthly season. As we look at our 6 seasons calendar, we've got some monthlies to show you, and also some other different species of berries that are out at this particular time in the southeast. Pretty important we know our seasons, pretty important we know where to look for the different plants, and that way we'll know where the berries are fruiting in this particular season, and that way we'll know what types of berries when they are right on ripe, and what the season is going to be a good season or not. In this time of sugar and eel time, a lot of our groups came in from inland, and we had connection through language to come and connect together, because everyone would come down to the coastal areas and harvest the monthlies as a very important stable diet in relation to the food source of the sugars and sweets and plus the fibres. So monthlies season now is pretty important. We have monthly time, so a big celebration would have happened. A great celebration would have happened connecting to other groups all through the southeast, and language groups would have came together, cultural heritage groups would have came together and supported each other in a way of sharing our foods in particular times of the season. If we didn't have the season, different foods here would go to other people's country, and they would share also their foods if we haven't got that type of food or weaponry or wood or artefact as such in our area. We've always shared, we're a sharing culture. We must keep that in mind. We share a lot of our knowledge to each other. It's all to do with knowing the landscape, surviving in our landscape and understanding our seasons. Okay, monthly season, it's the berries are eaten fresh or pounded together to make a paste, which is dried and eaten later. Ripe fruits have a dry apple taste or peachy taste and very sweet and lots of fibre. Sandy soils, you'll find this here in coastal areas, and like I said earlier, a lot of our groups came inland to the coastal areas to join in the great feast of eating the monthlies, or the manta or nurp in Bunganese language. It's quite important that we have knowledge of the seasons, like I mentioned before. That way, if we can send someone out as a messenger to other areas, or they'll know the seasonal time to come into the southeast coastal areas for this type of very important food. So I've got some here to show you. This is our monthly. As you can see, there's abundance of berries on this here vine, and if you go along our coastal regions, you'll find lots and lots and lots, and very large, like little apples, and very tasty. And they were ground up into paste if you wanted to, or eaten fresh or straight from the plant, and ground up into paste or dried and eaten later. So quite transportable and quite tasty. I better stop eating them. And you see they will grow on the ground, and that's why it's very good for coastal regions, this type of plant. It helps with the erosion, keeps the soils together, and the berries will tell us if the season was good, if they're big and there's plenty, tells us we've got a good season out there. Okay, what I've collected from our environment, we've also got pig face fruit, and pig face is also very important to collect, as it's got a nice, beautiful sweet taste on the fruit itself, and it's the same season as the monthries, the pig face. So I'll come along and show you a little bit what they look like. That's a pig face fruit. Okay, you turn it over like such and you squeeze it out, and very tasty and salty. And the leaves are also used for cooking. You can cook them up and cook them with your meats, your heavy meats, and that'll help taste or put your salts back into your meats. My mum used to do it all the time when she was a young one. Always cook up the meats with the saltbush leaves. But the pig face fruit itself, so tasty, so and salty in taste. We need to have our sugars and salts. This is a good fruit for your sugars and salts for our staple diet in the southeast. A lot of areas all over Australia have the pig face, and it grows along the ground, same as the monthry, and it's great for holding our soils together. So it's a great food source, and also a great plant for our dietary requirements. In the southeast, it's well noted that we've got basket weavers all over the southeast, and for a long time our people have been using this sedge here, it's grass, or they call it basket grass, and the basket grass was used for making baskets, of course, but also used for making artefacts used for collecting food in, or even make mats. But it's a very important species of plant or grass. As you can see, this is how long they are. Very long. And this is the head, which is your seed. As you can, seeds are on there, but if you want to grow the head of the seed, you can take it off and put it in water, and it'll reshoot, and you can grow another whole plant out of that. Okay, but we're after this, and this is our basket. So I've got a example of a basket here my mum made a long time ago. This is made from that type of basket grass, okay, or the sedge grass. You can see the weaving itself. If you see this particular weaving anywhere in Australia, well, it's from the Coorong area. It's called coil weaving, and my mum's knowledge was passed down for her mother and her mother. Now her daughter, my sister, makes them. So our family still is making. We haven't lost basket making in our family connections since before, or even before the European arrival in Australia. We're still doing that. Okay, so very important grass when you dry it out. You keep it wet when you're drying it out and moist, and it makes it pliable to weave. And the pattern itself is a lot of stitching, and takes up to about 6 months if a bit part-time doing this one to make this one here. And you'd share this here, everyone would have a go. This, men, women, boys, girls would all make these, not just one group. Like most of our culture is, we share a lot of our work ethics, so we can make the artefact or wherever it may be, so we can hunt and gather or collect food in. So it's called coil weaving. Particularly important when you're collecting your plant species and grasses as such, but these plant species like kumbungi, they call it the bulrush. This is your kumbungi or bulrush. There's your heads up top. Those are very flammable. When the seeds are ready to pop off or come off the head of this plant, you light them up and they'll fire up. Okay, so when you're burning these, they will burn up pretty good, even the leaves. But this is another form of basket making. We've used these for mats, and you can make baskets also. Mats for sleeping on, and baskets for collecting food as such. When you dry them, take them off like that, and you dry them. These are dry ones. They're pliable when they're more moist and wetter, so you wet those down and you can weave that or mat those together, making a mat or a basket or something to lay on or put food on. And as you can see, the leaves can get very, very high. This is only half the size. They do get double this size, okay? But as we get down towards the root systems, this is where your starch comes in. There's some little bits here ready to spurt out now, the roots. Okay, there's the leaves coming out, but the roots will travel along the ground into the mud, and they get about up to 1 metre long. And in that roots that's coming off these, you can make nets, because there's lots of fibre in the root system of the Kumbungi, and you can make nets. And the string itself, when you make the string, after you wash it and clean it, it's most pliable, and you can make string, baskets, fishing line, like I said before, nets for fishing. And even we've known of various cases where nets were made up to 20 metres long to raise up off the ground when they've got kangaroos or emus running through a certain section of the landscape. You lift up the net and you can catch that many, also ducks. Okay, and you run in, then you take the meat. So this is a very important plant, Kumbungi or bulrush, and that grows in our wetland areas. And I must add, I'll talk about the cultural flows and how important our water resources for this plant to survive. These plants are an indicator for how important our water are, how important our water is in the southeast. Where these are, you've got fresh water, okay, and we need to look after the freshwater areas and habitat areas where these grasses grow in abundance. And I mean, say, in a lot of wetlands, there's lots of this grows, and also if you look at some of this, if you look at some of the stems here, when they're dried, there's a stem right there. Okay, that's stem or stalk, but that's it right there. This is a small one, but they're twice as thick. And when you dry these out, you make your rafts. And your rafts are made for putting on lakes and any wetland, and you can go hunting and collect mussels or whatever, yabbies as such, or your fish, and also some of your plant stuff. But rafts were made out of these too, and commonly used in the southeast also, and up along the Murray River. Okay, well, I've got to let everyone know again is that how important the 6 seasons are. These timelines are very important to understand because it gives us time to relax, but also time to make things. If you look back to our 6 seasons colour, we can go back to our cultural ceremonial time, which is after sugar and eel time, April, May. It says cultural ceremonial time. This is time we're making a lot of the artefacts. We're making weapons, we're making baskets, we're making tools, we're making lots of string, and we've collected all this stuff. And another species that we collect is the sword sedge. It's a very hardy plant, the sword sedge. You can see the tops where all the seeds are. Okay, there's your tops, and there's your leaf. Okay, the leaf also, when you pull it out, it's good for chewing on the ends. It's got a lot of starch and fibre in those, good for chewing on. Also, they were put on the coals or steamed to eat also. And like I said before, with the other grasses and plants, this is also very good for making mats and baskets. They've found a 5,000-year-old basket made from this here type of species of plant, an archaeological site in Victoria somewhere, and they've found and dated the plant by using the charcoal that was found near the plant where the site was. And so this plant leaf, and the basket was dated approximately 5,000 years old. So it's a very hardy plant, very important plant to use for cultural artefacts. It's pretty hard, and you can also split this plant too, see? Or stuff on the other end. That's a nice little piece. These are also steamed, but you know, as you get down, you can see all the starch and fibre at the bottom. You can make pieces from that. You can make fine work, you can make it thinner, make it finer work for smaller items or baskets or mats, and very integral designs you can make from the sea when you've had it split, but very fine. And the bigger plant itself for larger and heavy duty mats. Okay, so we're making these every season. Every time in the cultural ceremony time and the emu camp story time, we were making a lot of our artefacts, but they were collected and can be collected now, and also during the seasons. They were collected and brought back to our camping grounds to make and and deal with cultural items that are very important for our survival in the southeast. Another important useful plant is our spinach. And like the pig face fruit or the pig face plant, we've got our salts also attached to this plant. The salts in the leaves are good taste when you eat them. Okay, and these are also cooked with your meats or your fish as such. Okay, and these are also good run on the ground and creeping, good for coastal areas or sandy country. The spinach is, you can eat them raw or cooked as such, straight in salads. So when you're hunting and gathering our traditional foods in the southeast, it's everywhere if the land has been cared for, looked after, and we've got to protect a lot of our waterways, understand how the seasons work, because if that particular plant isn't there in another particular season, next season, we want to know why it's not there, because we've got to make sure we care for country so we can maintain the survival of the species, of the plants, and also it cares for us as people, our bush foods. Okay, very importantly that we understand sort of the wooden artefacts, or artefacts as we know are very important for our survival, and in certain ways we survive and in certain ways we collect our wood, and our wood is mostly around here is our she oaks, our gums, our wattles. They're really good woods, hardwoods for our artefact making. One in particular, as everyone knows, is the old boomerang. This is not a returning one, okay, it's got a little bit of return on it. You can tell by the angle of the wing here, lifting arm. This was thrown directly at you, like such. It'll go straight in that direction. This one is for hunting up birds like cockatoos, galahs, birds that fly in clumps or groups. This is especially for throwing them like that, okay? Very importantly, the oldest boomerang found in Australia was found here in the southeast, right here in this very spot about a few k's around the corner, a place called Wiry Swamp, okay, and also a digging stick, okay, and they were carbon dated at the swamp, or Wiry Swamp, at 10,000 years old using charcoal dating, okay, so the boomerang's been with Aboriginal communities for a long, long time. I know a lot of boomerangs weren't used where there's lots of forest around, okay, there was mainly in open plain areas and around lake systems and waterways, so very important tool. And like I said, this is a hardwood, okay, and there's different types. This one here, it's also a hunting geese, okay, or larger birds. You can see the arm is longer, okay, and you've got a smaller bend up here. This one spins more, this one hurtles through the air and it hits larger objects, okay, as such. And this one here, as we got, is the killer boomerang. It's got a different arm piece on top, okay, looks like a bird's head, but up here, this is where it turns, right here. This is where it pivots, it spins there, okay, where the other boomerang spins from there. This one spins from here. Reasons why we've made them like this is that when we're hunting kangaroo and emu, we can aim these at their legs and that'll hit their leg like that, either break their leg or make them fall over. Then we'll use a waddy or nulla in some areas for putting them out of their misery so we can take them home to eat. But these are our tucker. I can go and get a kangaroo and emu with these two items. This one here is the mallee wood. There's a root system there for the mallee tree. There's a stem, of course, and the mallee tree is a very, very good hardwood, especially that part down the bottom where the root system is. That's your water storage here. Okay, there's known places in the mallee country where you can cut out a piece of section off the root itself, dig it out, and you put it overnight on a coolerman, a water vessel, and you come back, you'll have water in that vessel in the morning because the water will seep out of that root system into your water vessel, and there's your water in the desert country. Okay, so all woods are very important, different trees are very important for making artefacts. Like the one here is a container. It's a red gum one, You can see inside. Okay, red gum. It grows on the side of a tree. Commonly known as a burl. A burl growing on a big red gum tree was cut off, placed on the ground, or you can carry it. You can put water in this one, okay, or food, or your berries, or stone artefacts as such. But this was placed at your camp where you lived, or where you stayed, and a lot of stuff was stored in here, okay, but you know, also water. This one I've got here in particular is a very big dish, not much for carrying, but for putting down on the ground. For you can do seeds with this one, or do seeds also, or carrying food on top. As we can see here, we've got wattle seeds. Okay, if you can take particular note, that is a little black spot there, that is a wattle seed. Okay, and all the way down that pod, seed pod, there'll be up to about 7 or 8 seeds, little black seeds. Okay, and that's from your wattles that grow along in our coastal and inland environments. So you gather lots of those, and the seeds are very important for grinding up and making little breads. Okay, little breads and stored, but the seeds can store for a long time, so they're great to have your seeds. Seeds are very important for survival, because seeds you can store for next seasons if you're short the next season after. And back to the piece of wood I've got here. This came from the red gum tree at Lake Poocha Swamp, they call it, near Mundalla. It comes from the tree called the pinky tree there. It's my ancestors' home many years ago. And we had a chance to collect a bit of wood from that tree when a limb fell down, and my son Aaron Nichols made this here beautiful dish that comes from our family tree, which is still out in the bush, which we're caring, in the bush at Mundalla, where we're caring for now. Okay, we're going to talk about now how important in the 6 seasons calendar, in our, particularly our grassland areas and open plain areas, we've burnt a lot of our country. Okay, we're to burn a lot of our country because we'd open up the plains and we can hunt and gather, and the new shoots of grass will come through and hunt and gather for the kangaroos and the emus that came into that open country. That was our happy hunting grounds. We had to burn country, and also some of the cooler times of the year, mainly, we'd burn off certain vegetation types like our environment, bush areas, to promote new growth. Okay, otherwise if you don't burn off certain particular areas, a lot of the fire is no reduction, and you're going to have a great bigger fire. So we burnt every couple of seasons when the time was right, and to do that, to make the fire, we use a yucca bush or a yucca tree or grass tree, and I've got a couple of pieces on the ground down here. I'm going to sit down on the ground and show you how this works. I've got, yeah, as you can see, that is the yucca head, seed head there. I've turned it around, that's where I've used it to make fire. Okay, that's your stem, and I'm after the stem part. And I'm going to use another yucca bush, which is the same species as this one, but it's a smaller one, smaller species. So 2 different types of yucca in our country. You get the larger one and the smaller ones. And the smaller one is a hardier wood, and that's the one we use the spindle or the shaft for turning and doing friction on another piece of wood. Also, I'm using another piece there. Okay. Also, I'm using these here coastal seagrass balls that grow actually come dispersed along our coastal areas by their abundance, and that's our seagrass, which is in turn turned and also pushed through the waves and turns and circulates, and all of a sudden it turns up into a ball and it lands on our beaches. Great for making fire, because the fibre is so fine, and you can make strings from this also. As you can see, you can do strings. So weaving string, but that's our fire lighter. All it is friction, 2 pieces of wood. We've got a yucca here, and we've got our seagrass balls. Okay, which you take the outer layer off, which will be drier, and it's flat like that. placed onto your fire stick. Okay. And you get a start from the top and you spin as such. It's spin, 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 and a bit of pressure. As you can see here, I've used our coastal Lyria plant for smoking the area and cleansing our areas. Okay, most important we use smoking ceremony wherever we can when we have very spiritual occasions, cultural occasions, especially when we have reburial of our ancestors, as well as smudging ourselves when we're travelling around other different areas. We can clean off the unnecessary energies we gather on our travels and take it out, so we've got our own connection to our own space. So smoking ceremonies are very important. This is from our coastal Lyria plant, what's commonly known as coastal rosemary. We'll dry this out. When it's dry, and mould it together for smoking ceremony. Use our cultural feathers from totems in our area, totem birds, to cleanse and clean areas that we need to be cleaned, clear the way for our good day or time we need. I've got to refer now back to our 6 seasons calendar, because our 6 seasons is quite instrumental in understanding what to do and where to do things and how to do things on country, and now and in the past and back thousands and thousands of years. We are still doing the same ceremonies on country. We're still looking at our 6 seasons calendar on where to go, and a lot of times our different groups out there, from Ngarrindjeri all the way through the Gunditjmara peoples, we had a cultural connection, because up this way we've got a stone, and the stone is important tools for collecting and hunting and gathering food. Stones like these, okay, like silcretes, but they're found along our Wakawine coast or on our beach areas. Okay, flint stones, there's darker pieces than that out there. These are the lighter texture colours. This is compressed sandstone over billions of years, and over being compressed, comes out very smooth and very glassy finish for making stone artefacts. If you look closely, this one here has been serrated on the edge. It's like a serrated edge knife. We can cut fish, okay, or heavier meats like kangaroo or emu with this one, okay. You can skin kangaroos even with this one, okay. So what happens is that if you've got the source of the stone like these ones in our country here, we've done trading, so we had people coming in from other different areas, language groups coming in and trading for this type of stone. Okay, especially in the Wakawine ranges and the coastal areas of flint stones also. This is a core sample here. This is a core where the stone was knocked off, like such. If it was on the side like that, there was another stone like this here, greenstone axe, was hit, okay, and from that you get pieces like this, okay, and this is your core, okay, and hit that again to get another piece off, okay. So you've got to find your stone, and when you've got that, you can make knives, serrated knives, you can make cutting stones, you can make razor sharp utensils for cutting any meat you want. This one here is our greenstone, which is traded from Mount William, Victoria, okay, from the Dja Dja Wurrung peoples. Okay, you can see when you look at it closely, it's got a green tinge inside it, volcanic of course. We've got volcanic stone here. Also, we can do the same stones, but this type of granite here is of fine texture, and it's high quality, highly priced stone, which is traded all over Australia. A piece of this stone was found in Western Australia, so someone's walked a long distance for trade and travel, because having a good quality stone is very important for as a tool. As you can see how great that sharpens up. Okay, that's your sharpened edge. You can take bark off a tree with that. Okay, or hit a tree with it, left hand or right hand, as such. and turn it over. You've got a flat bit on top, that's for pounding the bark before you cut bark off tree. Hit the bark first with that, and that softens the bark up. Then you can go into the bark using stones like this one here to cut the bark. It's easy to cut. Okay, so the greenstone axe is very important as it's a hardier stone, and it was also traded all around our country here. And this other stone I've got here is, it came from river country. Okay, a farmer handed it in one time. He hit it with his tractor, grader, and doing roads, he reckons, and he heard a sound, jumped out and found this stone here. Then he looked around further and found this one here. He gave it to me up the river many years ago, about 30, 40 years ago. He gave it to me, he said, go and show the community this one. So he handed me this, and I said thank him. And I found out this type of stone doesn't come from river country, it comes from out at Broken Hill Way. Okay, it's Broken Hill stone. And you can see by the grinding, and I mentioned before about the wattle seeds. This is what we use to grind the wattle seeds with. A grinding stone is this. And you also got bigger Nardoo dishes out there which are this long. Okay, and they're great for grinding Nardoo seeds and also wattle seeds. But this one here is very portable. You can carry it wherever you like, and you place it down where your campground is on your cultural ceremony time or your emu camp story time area. All these artefacts will be at them places in those times of the year. That's where you're going to find your artefacts, the stone artefacts, deep winter and autumn. And this is where we're at the base camp. Then during the other seasons, we're out there hunting and gathering for the egg and orchid time, kangaroo grass seed time, shell and wattle seed time, sugar and eel time, and cultural ceremony time. Okay, so lots of work to do in those two times of the cultural ceremonial time and the emu story time. Okay, we've got all the artefacts, we've got the food sources there. We'll prepare those stuff, we'll prepare our food and have it ready for the next few seasons to keep us ahead of the food source, so we've got the food always there.